Hello, Washington Drive families. Welcome to our Parent Academy. We have Mrs. Stella who will be sharing information about our reading and writing program at Washington Drive. Thank you for joining us.
We're at Washington Drive Primary School, and I'm here to welcome you to the Parent Academy. This year, I'm welcoming all kindergarten parents to talk about how literacy works at Washington Drive Primary School. So welcome to the ABCs of Reading and Writing, our parent workshop. In kindergarten, readers learn to read by reading interactively. Not unlike riding a bike, the best way to read is to read. Read, read, and read. The more we're exposed to books, the more we look at books with children, the more they're thinking about words and pictures and what makes sense. Reading has many, many pieces of a puzzle. So in kindergarten, as well as first and second grade, we're working on sight words. We're working on phonics. That's the sounds of the letters, the sounds letters make when they're mixed together, when they're stuck together. We also will talk today about guided reading and writing. All of those pieces to our puzzle make reading wonderful in kindergarten. The importance of words. Sight words, sometimes you'll hear them called high-frequency words, are words that appear very often in text. They don't follow many of our phonics rules. They can't be sounded out, like the word the. They just need to be read automatically. So those are our sight words. Your kindergarten teachers, your first grade teachers will constantly be offering ways to work on sight words, which we'll talk about today, as well as some fun sight word activities. Each grade level needs to build a sight word vocabulary, starting in kindergarten with a base of like 25 or more words, which really starts the children reading. These words, again, are to be read quickly and automatically. Often we use flashcards for these words because we don't want to sound them out. We don't want to tap them out. We want to read them quickly. So the sight words also can be found in many books that we do during a read aloud at home. Yes, practicing flashcards is a wonderful way to use sight words, but having the child really see them in a book is more powerful. So when you do sight words, when you're reading a read aloud, maybe point out a sight word or two, even the word the at the end of the book. Little things like that make the word very tangible, make the word make sense for the child when they have to read them. If you go to our Harbor Fields website and you go to Washington Drive Primary School, under Balanced Literacy, you will see high-frequency word lists. Those word lists start with 27 word lists of kindergarten, and then it shows a 50-word list and a 100-word list. These word lists are general words that, again, appear most frequently in books, that children see frequently, that aren't to be sounded out or to be read quickly. After the high-frequency word list on the website, there's also some suggested games and activities that the reading department has put together. Some fun things you might try at home. In the classroom in kindergarten, around December, right after we have our parent-teacher conferences together, your child will start guided reading in the classroom. Guided reading is when the children work in a small group with the teacher for a short period of time during the day. At that time, they're reading a Just Right book. That means they're reading the book that is specifically for that child's reading ability at that time of year. You'll notice that the books will get more complex as the year goes on. This is, again, a small group. The teacher instructs the child on the book. The child has been instructed on the book and read the book in class. Then the child will take the book home to you. The book will then be reread to you as the child practices. When the book comes back, it will be quarantined for 72 hours. I'm adding that in this year. Students will also read at their own pace. They'll learn what words mean. They'll figure out words by looking at letters, and they'll be seeing those sight words repeatedly so that they'll start to read them automatically like we spoke about. Our guided reading books are very supportive. You can see a picture of them here. They have some of the text, some of the lines, the sentences in the books are very repetitive, or what we call a pattern, so the children know what to expect. Reading is about thinking, so we're not just asking them to read the words on the page and figure out what the words are. We're asking them to think about what the story means, what's happening. This is a picture of what a reading group has looked like at Washington Drive. This year, they'll be wearing masks and the teacher will be further apart, but the children will still be very engaged with the story, very engaged with the book, because even during this difficult time, having a book in your children's hand is still one of the most important things that you can do for them. Practice, practice, practice. Now that they've had that book in their hand, they've been instructed on how to read the book. Rereading it to you at home is such an important piece of this puzzle. Practicing the words, they might get stuck. That's okay. Help them out. Sometimes, especially with very simple books in the beginning of kindergarten, it may seem like your child has memorized it. And that's partly true. Maybe they have. What we ask in kindergarten is for children to point under each word as they read. While they point, they're looking at those words. They're reading those words, not just telling you the book or memorizing the book. The pointing helps keep them controlled as they look at the words and they're actually reading the words on the page. Memorization is also part of reading. Don't we always remember the names of the characters when we read a novel? That's all part of the reading process. When we read with our children, there are some things to keep in mind. Very important things that you can do to support them at home when they're rereading the book they have read during guided reading. The first thing, the hardest thing, is wait. We need to wait for children to try to figure it out. It takes time. It takes time for them to remember what happened in the classroom, remember what the book is, remember what the word is. We have to give them enough time to wait. Prompt and encourage. That means that if a child's stuck on the word, you could say, hey, let's look at that first letter. That's a B. What sound is that? He had a B. And sometimes the word pops out of their mouth. Yes, he had a ball. Praise them. Every effort they make is an effort towards reading. Praise them and make them feel good about it. The books are very simple, but any discussion you can have after the book helps build thinking and comprehension skills. One thing you can discuss after a simple guided reading book they've read is, what was your favorite page? Or opening to a page and say, what was the family doing on this page? What did the dog do on this page? A simple 1 or 2 questions just to get them used to talking about their reading. Talking, reading, oral language skills, they go together. So a discussion after a book is very helpful. I did mention in the beginning that I am one of the reading teachers at Washington Drive. I work specifically with kindergarten. This program that I work for at is AIS. It's called Academic Intervention Services. That is a service for children who could need a little extra help, a little extra assistance with their reading. They come to me in a small group setting for extra practice of things they're doing in the class. Part of our reading program at Washington Drive is a study of phonics. Phonics is a study of words, how words work. Letters that make sense, letters that make sounds, putting letters together for words, and putting chunks of sounds together to make different words as well. At Washington Drive, in our building from K through 2, we use Foundations as a program to begin the understanding of phonics. and it's taught systematically in the classroom every day by your classroom teacher. We also use Fontes and Pinnell to help us teach different principles of word study and guided reading. These are some of the manipulatives used as a multisensory approach in our Foundations program. So we use the alphabet chart. You might hear your child chant some of the stories, we call them, for each letter to help us remember the sound. We call these the large sound cards. The large sound cards have a letter, a picture. Your child might say A, apple, A, B, bat, B, C, cat, K. Those are the things we're teaching to help the child remember the sound each letter makes. This helps them in their reading and their writing. We also use tile boards that help us manipulate the sounds in words, especially small words. And we also talk about the formation of letters and how they are written. Foundations is taught as a whole group class or as a small group in AIS or reading services, or even at a small area in the classroom for children to learn with the teacher directly. We did talk about that Foundations teaches us the formation of letters. Foundations shows us where to begin our writing when we form a letter, where does it end, and where does it go. So now we're going to talk about how children write at Washington Drive, especially in kindergarten. Supporting a child's developmental writing skills is such an important part of having them become strong readers and strong writers. Writing gives a child a better understanding of how written words work, so the more they write, the stronger their reading will become. Writing happens every day in the classroom. Students do writing and reading because it goes hand in hand with the development. Teachers in kindergarten begin with teaching children to write letters, the letters for the sounds they may hear in a word. You might see something come home with a bunch of letters strung together, but that is part of the writing process. Sometimes in this time of year, the kindergartners are writing the first letter they hear in a word. So if they wanted to write, I went shopping, they might write I and a W for went. Some might write a WT. We're encouraging them to write those sounds they hear, the sounds that we were practicing in our phonics and Foundations. We also are teaching them to write those sight words that we talked about, those high frequency words correctly. So if we're writing I see a monkey, they're going to try to write I see a correctly and stretch out that word monkey, even just being able to get the M and an E for monkey. At home, it's important to encourage your child's writing as well. Provide them with all the tools they need to make it fun. They can make books at home, they can play restaurant, make menus, or take your order. Any way you can encourage them to use a pencil and paper together is a great way for them to really participate in the writing process. Again, every time they're writing, it's supporting their reading. I hope that this has been a nice time for you this evening to listen to the process of how we learn to read and write at this crucial point in our educational career in kindergarten. It is such a wonderful year. It's very exciting to see things change from children writing their name with uppercase letters to upper and lowercase, from children just writing one letter for a word to stretching it out and hearing many letters and eventually even adding the middle sounds and the vowels. All of this process is very developmental. It's such an exciting year. I truly hope that you enjoy watching your child grow. Please feel free after this video to email me. My name is Cecilia Stella. I'm a reading teacher here at Washington Drive for kindergarten, and I would be happy to answer any other questions that may come up for you. I hope that you had a really nice night. I thank you so much for spending this time with me. Good night. Hi, I thought we'd take a few minutes to look a little closer at the guided reading books your child will be reading in kindergarten. Our books are very supportive. They start with very simple books where the pictures really help the child figure out those tricky words. They have repetitive sight words. In this book, the child will be asked to read across the sentence while pointing under each word as they read. You might have remembered from the slide presentation that pointing to the words helps stop the child just telling the book, but really gives them attention to reading the book. We also tell them to please use the first letter of those tricky words. Bananas is a really big word for kindergarten. However, the picture is so supportive, it allows the child to figure it out. So we never cover the pictures. We always tell them, use the pictures, use the letters, look at your sight words, use all those clues to help you read the book. Again, the patterns of the book are repetitive, so the child will be successful. They'll read this book in class with a small group and your child's teacher. They'll take it home, they'll reread it to you. When it comes back to school, again, it's quarantined until it's used again. The next level of books that you'll see happens very quickly. You'll notice that the pictures are a little less supportive. They need to really start thinking, which builds those comprehension strategies as well. You will continue to see those sight words repetitively. You'll notice that they have to go and read 2 lines of print and use the pictures to help understand the story. After this, your child will be moving into, by the end of the year, other books. Again, the pictures help tell the story, help to build those comprehension strategy, but you'll see the difference in the text. Now we're looking at talking marks. We call them quotation marks, dialogue, the word said, and building bigger vocabulary. Using the pictures, thinking about reading. So that is a quick look at some of the guided reading books and the type of books your child will be exposed to during this school year and help them along the road of the reading process. I hope this was a little informative for you, and I hope you enjoyed the slide presentation too. Thank you. Hi, I hope you enjoyed the slide presentation. I would like to take a quick look at writing to help you understand it more. In kindergarten, we start by using pictures to help illustrate a story, maybe something that happened over the weekend, some weekend news, or some event. So we ask them to start by drawing pictures. After the picture comes simple writing. We ask the students to learn to write across the line of print and to use the letters for the sounds they hear in a word. So I and went. Most of the time, it's the initial sound that a child hears, so they'll write that letter to represent that word. This is very developmental. The children are starting to put those pieces together of the alphabet chart, the letters they see in books, the sounds they hear in words. So all of these pieces come together in the writing. They often move to using more types of writing where they're starting to stretch out and hear more sounds in the word, like and went and apple. So they're just hearing the sounds. The vowels are usually the very last thing they hear. Those are those middle sounds in a word that are very hard to hear. All of this is very developmentally appropriate for kindergarten. We work through the process with your child as we teach them the importance of writing, what writing means, where it is all over us, what we see, and that we read our writing as well. So we always ask our children to read the writing back. I hope that answered some of your questions as a deeper look into the writing process in kindergarten. I hope you enjoyed this Parent Academy for kindergarten, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Stella, for that wonderful presentation. Parents, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us.